You read a lot? Yeah, maybe. I'm wrong.
We humans are...
Okay, we're talking about the simulation theory. It's a theory that I personally... If I had to... If someone puts a gun to my face and says, choose a religion or a belief right now that you believe in, I think I will settle with the simulation theory. I think this is more... English. This is more likely than religion being right. I think the simulation theory has a lot of good arguments, man. I'm eating a lot of
unable to experience the true nature of the universe unfiltered. Our senses and brains can only process a fraction of the world. So we have to use concepts and tools.
Why would I simulate you though? Do you know that there's actually a psychological disease where the patient thinks everything around him is just simulation? I sometimes have that. I sometimes look at chat and you guys, and I'm like, you guys are not real. Look, you guys are just a nickname saying random shit. How do I know you're a real human being with own emotions, living on this planet, loving people, having I don't know if you're real, man. What if this is all just a casket built for me to test me or something? I don't know if you're real, boys. The problem is once you go to ParadoxCon, I see you guys are real, and then I'm like, oh god, this is even worse
to
than I
learn
thought.
about the true nature of reality. Technological progress not only widened our knowledge about the universe, it also made us aware of unsettling possibilities. In the future, it might become possible to simulate entire universes.
Exactly.
But if this is an option, how can we know that it's not already happened?
That's the thing. I talked about this so many times on stream, I kind of don't want to do it again. Or paid actors like The Truman Show, right? Like, you feel like you're the main character of your own life or something. I don't want to go into deep because I did this 20 million times on the stream. But here's the thing that blows my mind. Listen to this once again. I shared this so many times. But this is one of maybe the biggest thing in life to me. Imagine a game of chess with every single move possible can be measured in a value of complexity. Meaning, a game of chess has a complexity level of 1, right? For example, your brain, non-subs, has a complexity level of 0.1. Okay, for example. Can you follow me? Now, I read an article many years ago when I was very young. Thank you for tier 3 yet, but Jesus Christ. I don't know if you're real, man. If you're not real, you will say the same. Now, let's give Earth itself a value of complexity. This is, listen to this. This is to me the most craziest thing of life. Let's say we give your life, let's do this more about you. Your life, a complexity level. You with your emotions, your body, your biology, the people around you, the things you know, your brain, Earth, solar system, universe. Everything that you experience in your entire life, we give this a complexity level. Tommy's complexity level dropped to 0.01. And let's say this value is 1. Okay? Can you follow? Complexity level 1, your life. Now, it's 2021, and the human race is reaching right now by programming and making certain simulations. Let's be an idiot. Let's make this really idiotic. The Sims 4. If the complexity level of Earth and your life is 1, the complexity level of The Sims 4 is 0.000 something, right? Here's the thing though, and that's what an article suggested many years ago. And what I'm now going to say, ask yourself, will this be happening or is this fiction? But I think it will happen. At some point in the future, and here it comes, a huge ethical question. At some point in the future, the human race will reach technology levels where we can simulate a system with the complexity level 1. In this article, many years ago, they used there's like a game with white and black figures. And they make a system that always gets more complex. And one day, in many, many years, their system will reach complexity level 1, the same complexity level than life itself. Now, I know what's sinnlos. Oh, sorry. Oh. Now, the moment the human race reaches the possibility to create a simulation or program that has the same complexity level than life itself, we have a massive
Imagine if light speed is a limit because simulation can't render universe fast enough. Monka W.
Basis, the universe isn't done by paradox, okay? We don't desync all the time. Once the human race reaches this point, and we can simulate our own lives, we have to raise the question, what about us? we just reached the point where we can simulate lives, a simulation where, for example, the people simulation think like us, they think they're free, and then you have a big fucking ethical question on our hand. If we reach that point, which will possibly happen, who says that we are not the simulation? That shit is fucking... Thank you, Glitter Fart. That shit is fucking...
What if we
so
are not
man.
creators, but creations? Is it possible that we are not real and we don't even know it?
Like, man, I told you guys I was reading this book in Italy. I totally stopped reading it because I'm a lazy cunt, called Homo Deus. And in the book, there was a big chapter about the free will. And I'm like... And I was annoyed by that chapter because I'm like... For many, many years, the human race, and I think even you, right, and in school and everywhere, people have debated, what is free will? Does free will really exist? Blah, blah, blah. And I feel like, who the fuck cares? If free will is not real, or it is, who cares? In the end, I will decide to start streaming, jerking off, eating, drinking, or vomiting to my own mouth. Who cares in the end? But then, in the final pages, as I was annoyed by this chapter, they said very interesting stuff. For example, that the US military is making tests on rats, where they now understand the brain of a rat so deeply, and I skipped the point. The point I was skipping is, they kind of proved that the free will doesn't exist because they put stuff on humans, like, right? And then they told the human, press the left button or the right button. And they could prove, you can Google this shit, they proved that before the action happened, and they're supposed to do this spontaneous, without thinking, 0.5 milliseconds before something happens, there's a certain electromagnetic thing happening in the brain showing that the decision is made some seconds before the spontaneous reaction of the human. Kind of a proof against free will. But in the end, who cares? The interesting thing now is, though, that you can manipulate this stuff. They are now putting certain things into a rat brain, and they can tell the rat what to do. Go left, go right, go up, go down. The interesting thing is, these scientists tell the rat what to do by electronic stimuli into the brain. And here comes the fucked up thing. The rat doesn't know that it's being controlled. That's the assumption of these studies. When the rat goes left, because the scientist told him, he thinks it was his decision to go left. And now the shit gets heavily interesting. Who says humans could not be or are already influenced like this, thinking that our decisions are free? That shit is scary, man. You can really Google this shit, man. I have the sources. It's in the bedroom. Yeah. It's really interesting stuff, man. Very interesting.
If our current understanding of physics is correct, then it's impossible to simulate the whole universe with its trillions and trillions of things. But we don't actually need to anyway. We only need enough universe to fool the inhabitants of our simulation into thinking that they're real. Who needs billions of galaxies? We only need the space our subjects are allowed to explore.
Yeah.
The vast universe could just
I feel like I want to smoke a blunt right now.
be a flat projection, and they would have no way to know.
What about small things like cells or bacteria? We don't really need them. When you use a microscope, what you see could be instantly created. Same with atoms. The chair you're sitting on right now does not need to be simulated with quadrillions of atoms. We just need the outermost layer of it. It might be empty inside until you decide to break it open. Your body might feel like it's filled with bubbly things, but it might be empty until you open it. The minimum...
Like the theory that there's actually nothing behind me. Just if I turn around looking, it's just being projected. Like, this is empty. You are simulation, you don't know. And if I look, the simulation is making it.
requirement for our simulation is only the consciousness of our virtual humans.
This happens in games now. That's a new technology they introduced last year, right? A new technology that NVIDIA is working on with somebody. Where in order to make video games better, it's where the player looks, there's stuff, but around them is nothing, but every time they look somewhere, stuff gets created to save memory space and stuff.
Our subjects just need to think the simulation is real. Okay, so are we being simulated? Well, maybe.
The question of the simulation theory is always, why would you simulate us? What do you have from simulating a fat ginger vomiting to his own mouth? What does that give you? My opinion was always to create energy or to study something, certain data. Thank you, Corinne. As I always say, I think that the reason of life is that this is a marketing simulation. I think that when you die one day, because here's the thing, I'm going to explain something now, and what I'm about to explain, if it will exist, companies will do it. When you die one day, you will wake up in a dark room, and there's a woman in a white kittle, doctor's robe. She's right there, and she's like, and you're like, holy shit, I fucking died. There's life after death, what the fuck? And she's like, so you drank 22,600 Coca-Colas. That means you are 12% below average. Thank you for your service. Then they delete you, and it was just a fucking simulation to show your consume of certain products, man. And here's the thing. If that will exist, companies will do it. They will simulate stuff to see your... Dude. Or maybe the simulation show... It's someone... Maybe we're a science project of a kid. Like... Here's an interesting thing. Oh, I'm getting too deep. Let's think the simulation theory is real. You and me, we live in a simulation right now. Question, why will that be? Why will you simulate this? And here's an interesting question, which kind of brings me to my religion. What I believe in life. And that's why I vote for the Green Party. Here we go. This is getting very deep. So you put people into a simulation. You and me, right? All of you. We're all together. Why are we not in the Middle Ages? Why are we not in the future? Why are we not in ancient Rome? Why are we right here, 2021? Most of us have been alive 90s, the 20s, now. And then I look at the world. What is the big problem? There's many problems, but the main problem is global warming. And sometimes I think, why would you simulate this, the current time, 2021? Because the biggest issue human race is facing is global warming. And it makes me think that if you will make a simulation, it will be to check how a predominant race on an exoplanet, an example, the humans, can handle their own extinction, their own filter, aka climate change. Which is why I will vote for the Green Party, because I want to show the simulation overlords that yes, we can fight this. I think we are a science project of a kid that wants to check how a race overcomes a great filter.
But there are a few...
There you go, I solved religion. Join my church. Shekel, thank you for 16 months. That's dumb. But Jesus Christ being born and coming back, or Allah, or the fucking flying spaghetti monster, that's not dumb, right? No, that's normal. Yeah, if enough people believe in it, it becomes real. That's called interreal subjective precision. That's from the book I was reading. There's 3 levels of reality. Let's talk about this. It's time that you kids learn something. There's objective reality. What is objective reality? Example, gravity. Gravity will always exist, whether you believe in it or not. If you are dead, alive, you don't believe in it, it will always exist. Subjective reality is what you think it is. It's you believe in something, it doesn't exist though. For example, the value of money. Money is just a piece of paper, but because you believe in it, it gets a value. But there's a third one we cannot forget, and that is intersubjective reality, as proposed by the book Homo Deus, which is a reality where if just enough people believe in it, it becomes real. The great example is religion. Let's say Islam or Christianity.
Boomer is enjoying this content.
If you're being honest and sit down and you just shut the fuck up, there is no God, there is no fucking dude that's gonna judge you and shit, right? But because millions of people invest in it, believe in it, the money is involved, it becomes kind of real. God has certain powers, man. He can have real estate. He can get a bunch of rape cases of children under the rug, stuff like that. And an entity becomes real. Very important. So telling me that my beliefs are dumb is ridiculous just because not enough people believe in it. It's very ridiculous.
Conditions.
No one asked? Well, don't watch, you fucking idiot.
That need to be met. Obviously, we have no authority over this topic, so please take everything we say with a grain of salt. Based on a modified version of the original simulation argument by Nick Bostrom, we have 5 assumptions for you. If they're true, you, dear viewer, are living in a simulation. Assumption 1. It's possible to simulate consciousness. Nobody knows what consciousness is. For the sake of argument, let's assume that...
That was also a big part in the book. Till this day, scientists cannot pinpoint what consciousness truly is. When they put all these things on the human brain, you know, these electric things, They cannot find proof for conscious. All they see is electronic stimuli going through the brain. Decision-making, love, certain areas of your brain get highlighted, they get warmer, electromagnetism going on. But nothing can really, which is kind of an argument for religion and the soul maybe, even though I think it's just science isn't far enough, where you can't prove consciousness yet, that it exists.
You could generate consciousness by simulating a brain. Brains are pretty complex.
If you count every interaction between synapses as one operation, your brain runs at about 10 to the power of 17, or 100 million billion operations per second.
100 billion operations per second, and you still chose to get that dumb-ass fucking piercing, man. And you tell me we don't live in a fucking simulation?
Let's generously assume we need 10 to the power of 20 operations to simulate 1 second of human consciousness. But we don't want to simulate just one human, we want to simulate all of human history at once, so we can skip around. Let's say we want to simulate 200 billion humans with an average lifespan of 50 years. 1 year has 30 million seconds, times 50 years, times 200 billion humans, times 10 to the power of 20 operations.
So we need a computer able to handle a million trillion...
That's kind of what I've been saying. This is actually interesting. I haven't watched the studio before. I was talking about the value of complexity, and that's what they're kind of saying. That you can give a value to the complexity of life, which are they doing here?
Trillion operations per second. More operations than there are stars in the observable universe. A computer like this is just impossible. Except maybe it isn't. Assumption 2. Technological progress will not stop anytime soon.
Imagine we reach an technology that can get on this level on operations, man. Doesn't that break the very fabric of existence?
If we assume that technological progress continues in a similar fashion as it has so far, then there might be galaxy-spanning civilizations with unlimited computer power at some point. Beings on a technology level so advanced that we could barely distinguish them from gods. A computer that can handle a million trillion operations is serious business, but there are actually concepts for computing.
Dude, clip this and show it in 5,000 years. People are gonna pray to machines, I'm telling you, bro. To look at humans. Humans are not that bright, right? If humans, and no offense to humans, but if humans see wonders and good shit, right, they're like, oh, hey, that is so cool. Imagine if in many years, machines, computers are doing wonders. Saving you, fixing you, blah, blah, blah. I really believe a religion of machines will happen. Yes, we can sit here right now and Tommy is stupid, blah, 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 blah. Look at human history. You think 200 years ago they predicted what happens nowadays, man? Imagine in thousands of years you have machines that they fix your cancer, they heal your loved ones, they heal you. Oh, you're sad, here's a fucking pill. People will start fucking believing in these machines, being thankful and start praying to them. That's how humans are.
Computers which can handle this. The Matryoshka brain is a theoretical megastructure made up of billions of parts orbiting a star feeding on its radiation. A computer of this scale would have enough power to simulate many thousands, if not millions, of humanities at the same time. Other technologies, like high-end future quantum computers, might lower the size drastically, so it might be possible.
But Tommy, humans built and invented those machines. Have you ever heard of a thing called AI? And many people up to Stephen Hawking talk about, hey, AI will one day make its own decisions and stuff, and you and me will not matter anymore?
To do this with a structure the size of a large city, or even smaller. But only if there's still someone around to build the computer. Assumption 3. Advanced civilizations don't destroy themselves. If there is a point at which all civilizations destroy themselves, this whole discussion ends here. Looking into space, you'd expect a universe filled with millions of alien civilizations, but we see nobody. The reason for this might be great.
But even AIs, our baby humans made it. Would you ever agree with the assumption, Jeremy, that you can create something that at one point gets out of your hands? One day you might be a dad, Jeremy. You're gonna have a child. And in the first years, your child will listen to you. You decide if it survives. You give it food, you give it water, you give it love. At some point, this child will start making its own decisions and step away from you. I think it's very naive to think that AI in the next hundreds and thousands of years just is like, oh, humans are my parents, I will not do anything weird. That makes no sense.
Great filters.
You wouldn't kill your parents? Check out Mindhunter on Netflix. Some people will go this way.
Great filters are barriers life has to overcome, like nuclear war. asteroids, climate change, or a black hole generator.
It makes its own decisions.
If life is inherently self-destructive, then there are no simulations. We explain this in more detail in our Fermi paradox video.
Yeah, one of the assumptions of the Fermi paradox is the simulation theory.
Assumption 4.
I personally love the zoo theory, man. But I think this is going over your heads. Chat is already having a fucking meltdown here.
Super advanced civilizations want to run simulations.
We're going to battle in a second, don't worry.
When we speak of post-human civilizations, we don't know what we're dealing with. To think we know what beings as powerful as gods want is pretty arrogant. Imagine the smartest ant on Earth living next to an amusement park. It's curious about what humans are up to, so you try to explain. Unfortunately, the ant just doesn't understand. The concept of roller coasters and standing in lines and holidays and fun doesn't make sense to an ant living an ant life. It's the same with us and a
Look at this, man. This is chat. Look at this.
Post-human being. Compared to them, we are ants. Running simulations for fun or science might...
Dude, this is so interesting. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I've been saying this for years on the stream. I always use the ant example. I swear to God, I've never seen this video before. Any old school viewer knows I always talk about this. The legendary ant story, which kind of was introduced by Malcolm the Middle Dewey. An ant cannot think like a human. It doesn't understand the way we think. The same way humans, us, cannot comprehend the consciousness of what's above us, if there's something above us. That is so important if you want to understand the future, religion even, stuff like that. Because whatever is above us, you cannot understand it. You don't, and it's very arrogant to think we can. Like people going around, God did this because of that and that. No, dude, be humble, man.
Might be an absurdly stupid idea to them. But if they do want to run simulations for whatever reasons, and assumptions 1 to 3 are...
Because there's nothing above us. Imagine you're an ant in the Amazon rainforest. Do you know that humans exist? Do you know that something exists above you? No, the ants are gonna be like, oh, we're pretty cool, huh? We're pretty fucking cool. The same way we could be little monkey ants in the universe, not knowing what's above us, what's looking at us. And that brings us to the zoo theory. Another theory trying to explain the Fermi paradox, why haven't we met aliens yet? The zoo theory means that aliens know we exist, but they're hiding from us and they're just looking at us because they realize we are dumb-ass motherfuckers. And looking at the news and looking at chat, why the fuck would you contact humans right now? A part of the movie Contact by Jodie Foster, where a small child asks Jodie Foster, who is an astroscientist in the end, why don't the aliens come here and invade us like in the movies? Because it will be like you going to the forest and destroying an anthill. It doesn't give you anything because you're just hurting something that's so much smaller than you. Contact
are true
is a
too,
sick movie, man.
Then the chances are not zero that you
is.
are living inside a simulation. Assumption 5. If there are a lot of simulations, you are probably inside a simulation. If there are simulated civilizations, it's likely that there are a lot of them. After all, we assume that post-human beings have access to practically unlimited computing power. So if they run simulations, it would be convenient to run millions or even billions of them. If there are billions of simulated universes, there are probably trillions and trillions of simulated conscious beings, which would mean that the vast majority of all conscious beings that will ever have existed are simulated. So for every conscious being made of flesh, a billion simulated ones exist.
That's so genius, man.
Since we have no way of knowing if we are simulated or not, in this case, the chances of you being one of the 999,999,999 simulated ones are pretty high. So what you consider reality might not be real at all. You really might be simulated.
All of this is based on a lot of assumptions that we can't really test right now.
I always feel like some educational, even philosophical content is really not for Twitch, man. It's just, I should probably just fucking play German and Hoi all day.
Scientists disagree with this whole thought experiment. So don't burn your house down to test if there will be glitches. If you are simulated, not that much changes for you. You might be on a small planet speeding through eternal nothingness, or a simulation inside a computer. Your existence does not become more or less scary.
That's the important thing about philosophy in this way, right? Whatever is true, if God exists, nothing exists, or simulated, it doesn't change your life. I think that's what's really important to understand. It's cool to talk about this stuff, but you should never get stuck up in it and think about this 24/7, because in the end, who cares? Your problems are still there.
Scary and bizarre. All we can hope to do is try to live good lives and have a good time.
Dude,
and
just
hope
talks
that
like
if
me,
we
man.
actually are simulations in a supercomputer,
Maybe
nobody
this is my
trips
secret
over the
YouTube
power
channel.
cable.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you, man.
Oh no. I think I just unplugged the simulation. But what if that doesn't matter? What if we are in one right now? What if you are simulated?
Jake over at Vsauce 3 is looking into
Point is
that.
chat, whatever you want to say. The probability of you being simulated is the same probability of God creating you. The same fucking probability. Whatever it is, 1%, 50%, 100%, it's the same. And you cannot deny it.